Hi everybody, my name is Matt Dupuy. I work for the City Police here and I'm in the traffic department.
I am Stephanie McRae. I'm the Communications Coordinator for the Cornwall Police Service. And today, Constable Dupuy and I are here today to talk to you about new impaired driving legislation. So last week we put out a question on our Facebook page wanting to know what your concerns and what your questions are with the new legislation. So Constable Dupuy and I are here today and we're hopefully going to answer some of those questions for you. So you ready to go, Matt?
I'm ready to go.
All right, so to start things off, one of the first questions we had was with no aspect of reasonable suspicion, we can assume ride spot checks will be longer as you will test everyone. Will this be the case? And does this mean more of a hassle for those people following the law?
So for our ride checks, we have been doing some ride checks lately, and we can have everybody provide a breath sample to us if we deem so at the ride stops. For traffic purposes and stuff like that, we're trying to let traffic go through. We can do it randomly as well. So this last week when we've been doing it, once traffic's gone down, I've then done breath tests at that point on individuals. It doesn't take very long. It takes about 20 seconds, give or take, to get a breath sample from an individual.
Okay, perfect. And so what evidence with the new legislation does a police officer need to justify pulling over a vehicle for a traffic stop?
So police officers can pull drivers over for any traffic violation. They can pull drivers over for sobriety purposes and check for sobriety, check for driver's license ownership, make sure the person's actually lawfully driving a motor vehicle.
Okay, perfect. And so do people have the right to refuse a test?
So if an individual does refuse a test, so does refuse to provide a sample of breath on the roadside screening device, it carries a maximum penalty. So a 90-day license suspension, $2,000 fine, and so it does, you can refuse it, however there would be penalties associated to that.
Okay, perfect. So Constable Dupuy, we received a lot of questions on our Facebook page surrounding the new cannabis legislation with this. So one of the biggest concerns is after smoking or consuming marijuana, does an individual have to wait a certain amount of time before operating a motor vehicle?
So marijuana affects the body differently, obviously, depending on the consumption of marijuana, the individual intake, the amount of THC that's in the marijuana. Some THC is a higher level of like the THC inside of it, so I can't necessarily say how much each person can have and then drive a car kind of thing. We're looking for mostly the impairment on individuals.
Okay, so perfect. So how is the Cornwall Police Service testing for marijuana during traffic stops?
So we have officers trained on standard field sobriety testing. So they would actually do a series of examinations on the side of the road, making them check the individual's eyes for horizontal gaze nystagmus. They would do a walk the line test as well as a one-leg stand test. After those tests, they would deem if the individual's safely able to operate a motor vehicle if they perform poorly. If they've performed poorly on the testing, they would bring it back to a drug recognition officer. And then that officer then would be stationed at the police station, which would do a series of examinations on the individual.
Okay, perfect. And so we also received a question, why aren't you reinforcing laws on people who take prescription medication and drive?
So prescription medication could also impair your ability to operate a motor vehicle depending on the dosage. Most likely the doctors would basically inform the drivers that these are the laws pertaining to your prescription and you can't obviously operate a motor vehicle because of this prescription. Some narcotics and some depressants have that effect on them.
So it would be a good idea for people who take prescription drugs to verify with their doctors and confirm, is this going to impair my ability to drive or operate a motor vehicle?
Correct, yeah. So they
Okay.
speak to a doctor about that.
Good. So another question we had is, are you going to collect our DNA or test for marijuana from spit on the removal blow tube? And will a person be charged only on the evidence from the handheld monitor? And how accurate is it?
Okay, so several questions here. I have a device here I brought with me in relation to the roadside screening device. So this is the breath tube I think that they might be talking about. DNA, we will not be taking DNA from this breath sample. The breath tube, if the individual driver would like the breath tube to them, I have no issues giving the breath tube to them. This is actually, it's a mouthpiece is what we call it here. So the mouthpiece is sealed when we hand it to a driver. It will come like this. We will then open it up or have the driver open it up. It simply fits into the roadside screening device like this and it pops in just like that. The officer would then turn it on. You can see here it turns on. It takes a couple seconds for it to boot up, not very long. And then the individual will provide a breath sample into it. Quick as that, that's what happens. The then results pop up, and you can see there's 0 on there.
Okay.
0 as well as 0. And then that's how quick the breath sample goes in. I don't know if there's more to it. So the handheld device, I think there was a question about accurate of it.
Yeah, how accurate is this?
So we calibrate them every 14 days. After 14 days, they go back for calibration or accuracy checks every 14 days. So they're checked every 2 weeks. We make sure they're within 5 of the testing. So we test it for 100 milligrams of alcohol, and we test to make sure it's within 5. So 95 to 105, they're all at 100. This will be used in court in relation to just providing a sample at the side of the road. The individual then comes back to the station and provides it into a more sophisticated instrument, our Intoxilizer 8000C. It then prints out the results, and we take 2 breath samples at the station.
Okay, perfect. So another question, going back to cannabis use, someone asked if I'm home for the night, my car is parked for the night, and I decide to smoke a couple of joints, he says, will I be nailed for that if I get pulled over the next day?
Again, marijuana use, I can't say exactly this is what the person can consume kind of thing. I don't have the numbers to say, okay, you can have 2 joints. Again, the THC or the amount, how big these joints are, how much marijuana concentration levels are inside of them, those are all different aspects in relation to it. And I mean, if you don't think you should be driving a car, it's probably not a good reason to drive your car.
Fair enough. Finally, we did also have another question about going back to prescription drugs. This person takes one that's in the methyl class of drugs, which she says in no way, shape, or form hinders her ability to operate a motor vehicle. So what, if anything, will she need to carry to prove this?
So if it doesn't impair her operation or her ability to operate a motor vehicle, it would obviously not fall under impaired driving because it doesn't impair her. Or he, I'm not sure if this is a male or female, but if they want to keep a prescription from their doctor saying it doesn't hinder their ability to operate a motor vehicle, by all means we can look at that. But if their doctor saying it's not impairing your ability to operate a motor vehicle, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you, Matt, today for answering a lot of the public's questions about the new legislation. I think what's important to take away from all of this is that our role in this for the Cornwall Police Service is to really continue to keep our roads safe, and our role is to enforce the impaired driving laws and make sure that our roads are safe and that people can travel in a motor vehicle safely without the risk of any type of danger happening.
Yeah, that's what our role is. We want to obviously reduce impaired driving. We want to keep the road safe for everybody, for all road users, not just the people using the road here, but we're talking about people on the sidewalks, your family members, those individuals. We don't want to see someone get hurt because of an impaired driver, and the new legislation helps us stop that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Constable Dupuy, for clarifying some of those questions with us today. So, it's December 24th, so on behalf of us, the Cornwall Police Service, we'd like to wish everyone a safe and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and of course, don't drive impaired.
By all means, call a taxi, get home, take a sober driver, and have a designated driver, but Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.